Hey everybody, it's me, man alone, and I'm just a guy. I'm alone here. Well, you and me. And today I'm gonna review this game that I printed out myself and stapled, and I'm actually kind of proud of it. It's the first time I ever made a booklet. But before I show you what game this is, I want to tell you a little story. Some months back, on a lark, I decided that my solo role playing was at a level in which I felt comfortable doing it in front of others. So I made this YouTube channel. And at the time, I think I had 2 followers, my mom's alt account. And at that time, I really didn't know what I was doing. But a YouTuber named Wilona's Cave, who you should follow if you don't already. You should follow them, and I'll put the link in the description because it's an excellent solo role playing channel, not only in terms of reviews, but excellent playthroughs, excellent animation, just an incredible artist who casually draws these scenes that are masterpieces, and just an all around good person because at that time I had 2 followers and posted my first video. Wilona's Cave shared that video, followed me, and my follower count went from 3 to 300 just from that post. And now that I'm approaching 1,000 followers, I guess I wanted to do something just to say thank you to Wilona's Cave for that support, and also to playtest his game, Haiku Journey, which is a solo journaling game. And yes, I did print this myself. It is in the alpha stage right now. And in front, I have version 1.1a, which I printed out earlier today of Haiku Journey. And literally just as I started recording, just right before I was about to hit start record, I got a notification from YouTube that Wilona's Cave commented on a post and said, hey, the new version is here and it's updated and it's got even more pages. So I did download that, and we can refer to that just so that you can read along, but just be aware that the version that I read and learned the rules of today is a little smaller. So I'm not certain of all the updates we'll see. So this is a reveal for both of us, but I assume the core mechanics are the same. I love games with interesting mechanics, and I love games that have a mechanic that are technically gameable in a sense of if you were a min-maxer playing this game, it would be oh, I could totally get a maximum score by writing the ultimate haiku about Xerox xylophones and getting an alliteration score and a complexity score and all that. But we don't have to worry about that for solo role playing because you're only racing against yourself, which is much like life. You're only racing against yourself, and the road is long, my friends. And so it's best to fill it with good games, good supportive people in your life, like Wilona's Cave, who was very kind to me. And so, in a sense, I just wanted to return the gesture a little bit, say thank you. But I really do think if you would have plopped this game in front of me, no matter who made it, I think I would have been interested to at least try it out. And so I say, let's do it. Let's do it. So this is Haiku Journey, and you are literally using haikus 575 to progress through the game. And the game has different. It has an intro here, just kind of saying the objectives, the values, the key objectives of the game: creative expression, exploration of themes, developing skills, mindfulness, entertainment, community engagement if you want to share your haikus or play with more people. But basically, we're just going to, we're going to need a D20, which this one looks good. And then a D100, which I actually think I have a full D100, but those suck because they never stop rolling. So we'll just use one of these. Let me see if I could find one that shows up better. So this might, well, we'll try out a variety. Okay. So we're going to use a D20, a D100, and some writing material, pencil and paper, just so that people can see. I think what I'm going to try to do here is try to write. I don't know if this will work, but let's give it a shot. I'm going to try to write out my haikus here. Is that not a good marker? Let's try a different one. Welcome, my viewer. One, two, three, four, five. To my review of this game. Get out of my way. To my review of this game. I love you so much. Okay, so where you have a 575 haiku here, and then we'll use this during the game to write out the haikus and just kind of give like a preview of how the mechanic works. I think it's pretty clever, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we have the materials. We use word tables, and then you'll use these tables which are in the back of the guide. That there's just like tons of tables. I'm sure that more have been added with this update, but you'll kind of get your inputs from those tables and then use those as the subjects of your haikus. And then as we'll see, it's like the content of your haikus will determine your score, and then you need to hit a target score. Normal, I think it's 20. If you want to play a hard game, it's 24. Easy is 17. And basically, you score your haiku based on like how many nouns, adverbs, alliteration, consonants, complexity, all these like little rating things that give it a score. And you'll tally those up, and if you hit or exceed the target number, like let's say 20, so you get 22 points, then you get to roll on a fortune, and that improves the progress of what happens next. Or if you get under 20, you have to suffer a misfortune. And basically, you're just using those as inputs to determine the forward progression of the game. Some expansion ideas, some use of playing cards. So like challenge mode, use face cards for special challenges. Jack would mean adding an alliteration. Queen would mean a metaphor. So those are some ideas for advanced play. Here's some future artworks going to go there. So setup, we'll use the D20 word tables that are based on different themes. We have our materials. So we're going to choose a word table theme and then roll the D20 a minimum of 1 to a maximum of 3 times, selecting 1 to 3 words from the thematic word tables. So I guess as an example of that, let's just see like what flavor of things we're getting out of D20 rolls here. So we'll go with thematic word tables. Okay. So we'll say, there's one for like fantasy realm, magical and fantasy items, fantasy combat, magic, dungeons. And I guess like wherever you are, there's town, nature, whatever input you need, you can just kind of draw it from here. And so it does say choose a word table theme. So I guess the theme would be like fantasy. Yeah, the realm of fantasy. And I think, something he says is that his intention is to add like several themes. So right now he's got fantasy in the natural world. And I think that the human experience, there's going to be like outer space ones, any setting that you can imagine sort of an RPG going in. But really clever tables for lots of different things: culinary delights, colors and shades, historical eras, artistic movements, ancient civilizations, landmarks. So just about any kind of thing you want to summon is going to be available in this game. And so I think this page, which was page 33 in the original here, let me check if it is the same in the updated version. But this page is basically kind of like structures out the gameplay. And there's some plot hook tables now. I should be showing you all this, shouldn't I? We have some plot hook tables here. Plenty of different starting quest hooks. And some cartographer's dilemmas. That's so cool. These are all D100. Explorer's log hooks. Gosh, this is so cool. Fantasy hooks. So why don't we start with that here? Maybe we can just get like a broad overview here. So we'll go. Oh wait, that's a D100. 65. So for fantasy hooks on 65, we have a shadow that moves independently. Okay. So that's a hook. That's definitely a hook. A shadow that moves independently. So maybe that's the big bad. The shadow in the Shadowlands. Horror hooks. Life at sea hooks. This is so good. Okay. And then all these hooks, like space opera hooks. My God. Been hard at work. Wizard's Garden hooks. Why not? Okay, so there's an example here of the haikus. Sorry if this is like making anyone dizzy. Okay, here's what I was looking for. Haiku Journey structure for players. This structure provides a clear pathway for players to integrate their narrative choices into the haiku creation process, making it accessible for those who might not initially feel confident in their poetic skills. Combine storytelling with gameplay mechanics, ensuring that every player contributes meaningfully to their adventure. And so context setting, briefly describe where you are and what's happening around you. Example, you stand at the edge of the Whispering Woods. Shadows lengthen as the sun sets. Emotional responses. How does your character feel about that? Action or desire. What does your character want to do or achieve? Challenge. What obstacle stands in the way? Then once you know that stuff, you write the haiku, and then you use the score of that to determine your outcome. And so I think this would be a very good game to learn how to solo roleplay. And when I say learn how to solo roleplay, I mean the most important part of solo roleplaying, which is learning how to create, how to world build based on prompts. And I think a lot of times when people read solo books, they say, I need more, I need more structure. All right. And then you give like a more structure and they say, more. And then you keep doing more. And then suddenly the game is, this happens in a lot of games I attempted to create. They become sort of board games or they become impossibly complex. And so the bottom line is, as a solo RPG player, we need to make use of the resources we get in any of these games, but we also need to understand that like we are our own ideas. We are our own like arsenal of tools, right? We fill in all these blanks, and a big part of that is taking words and like just putting them together in your mind and getting rid of that first instinct, right? Because that first instinct says, okay, you have two items, a bucket and a blanket. Okay. And you say, okay, now using this, you're in you start the game in your bedroom. What are you going to do with a bucket and a blanket? Now you can look at that and have like a pretty defeatist about it of saying, I got to roll again. This makes no sense. What the hell is a bucket doing in my bedroom? Or you can just acknowledge it. You could just say, okay, this is what it is. How does this make sense? And it's a weird thing that sometimes the more you try, the worse it is for you. It's almost like rowing a boat with one paddle, right? You're just kind of like rowing in a circle, right? Because the paddle is just sending you like around and around. And so what I like to do is just kind of like relax and look at these words and say, okay, bucket and blanket. Well, I'm grounded, and a friend of mine, he wants to come by and he says, hey, can we play video games? And I say, no, I'm grounded. I can't. And he says, well, then can I borrow the game? And I say, well, I don't want to throw the game down. You know, it's like $60, you know, some PS5 AAA game. And so what do? Well, how about I tie this blanket around the bucket and I put the game inside, and then I can sort of lower. Here's the game. I tie my blanket around that. And from the window, I can then like lower this bucket down to my friend so that my friend can grab the game out of there. Now, you could hear that and say, how ridiculous, you know, like how does that make sense? Well, how does anything make sense? In any RPG, it's so much stuff. If you were to just walk up and say it to somebody on the street, especially someone who knows nothing about RPGs, and just being like, yeah, I have a new stave that has a penetration of 5 and can topple, but you have to exceed armor class and they can still dodge. People will be like, do you need any help? Right? None of this stuff makes sense, and yet all of it makes sense. So just going into a game, assume that everything that you come up with makes sense. And that it is muscle memory. But for that reason, as I read through this, I really think that this game can do a pretty damn good job of working out that muscle. Now, if you're somebody who didn't pay attention in high school English, it's okay, because all the parts of speech are going to be listed here. And when I first saw this, I was like, damn, I don't remember all this stuff. And then I read these. I was like, oh yeah, I remember all of these. Okay. Nouns, pronouns, prepositions, conjunctions, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, interjections. And you get bonus points for diverse vocabulary, which means like you use like at least 5 different ones of these. And then alliteration. So ones that like begin with the same consonant sound. And I wonder if we could do anything for like assonance and consonants, or if that's advanced. And then your haiku, will just use a 20 for the target scoring threshold for this. And then once you write out the haiku, you just kind of work it out on this table here, and it's an easy scoring system. And a copy of that is in the back, at least of this original version. I'm sure it's still here. Some FAQs in the back. Let's see. Yeah, so it still has this parts of speech sort of scorecard here to easily score the haiku. And there is, again, this one is like probably 30 more pages than the one I printed. But one of the really good things in here was just examples of how this would go. So those are the fortunes and misfortunes for the human experience, natural world, fantasy, and adventure. Okay, so here's the examples here. Let me go through this. Gosh, I'm sorry to be aimlessly scrolling about that. All right. So the storyline that he comes up with for this example is Whispers in Shadow, the Goblin's Pursuit. All right. And just for the sake of things, he's saying we have a party of a druid, a fighter, a wizard, and a bard. We're going to use the D20 word tables, and just as an exemplar of how to play, includes 3 success haikus and 2 failures. And so the scene here is that the adventuring party is trying to escape a dungeon while they're being chased by a large group of goblins. We'll do a fantasy setting too, but let's just see what happens here. So the goblins catch up, and from the D20 word table, we have fantasy combat. From the D20 word table that is fantasy combat, a 13 and a 19 is rolled, which is magic, missile, and stun. And from the dungeon word table, we get monster and corridor. And so now, given these components, we imagine a scene here. All right. Now, this is likely not going to follow a rigid kind of RPG arc here, right? Like we're whether or not there's sort of like loadouts and inventory and stats and all that. I don't know what the finished product will be, but what we want to do is just like play some of this stuff out in the theater of our mind, and then come up with a haiku to sort of explain that situation. So in Corridor's grip, monster looms, magic missiles, hero stun, silent. 575, haiku's done. And then you compare it to the table, you score it out, and this one scored a 17. And so that failed because we're trying to hit a 20. And adding up all the parts of speech and all that, we didn't quite hit that. And so we go on to the misfortune table. And the misfortune table of 15 is rolled. You face a moral dilemma with significant consequences. And so that kind of gives us the scope of what this is going to talk about. Go back to the dungeon table, roll a 19, we get a cell. And we still have these other words from the previous tables to sort of inform what we're talking about, because this is like a sequential story. And then we roll a bard from the fantasy town settings. Okay. And I believe that the bard was one of the people involved. And so, okay, we have these new inputs, and this has to do a moral dilemma. And so a little title here, moment of decision. Choice looms, teleport, or transmute dark fate ahead. Bard broods, cell awaits. Now this one did score above 20, and so that is a success. And so now we have a fortune. And our fortune is that we get to find a shortcut through the terrain. So from the dungeon table, we roll a skeleton and we get chasm. And right away, we probably are thinking, I can probably maybe the shortcut here, maybe that's found in the chasm. The haiku is skeletons line paths, chasms leap, hearts thunder loud, goblins fade, hope springs. And that is going to be another success because it's over 20. And so on it goes, just kind of adding pieces to this. And the score of your haiku determines, whether a fortune or misfortune will influence the next step of your story, which will then require that a haiku is written. And so I just kind of wanted to try it out. I don't want to play a full game right now because it's late and I have to go to sleep soon. But just to show you how this might work, we're going to choose, a fantasy setting here. This is really cool too. Like after the whole thing's done, you get this nice set of haikus, which is almost like an epic, like ode, right? So we will do the fantasy setting. We'll go in the realm of fantasy. And the first thing we'll do is we could roll up to 3 of these. So we'll roll a d20 in the fantasy realm dungeon. Great. And this is just, for my notes. I'm sure I would be putting this in a journal if I was playing by myself. And then magical and fantasy items. We have a 19, an orb of power. Okay. And then why not? We'll, you know what? That'll be good for now. We'll just say that this is I'm a lone mage who is going into a dungeon to obtain the orb of power. And I would say, how about we say originally this orb of power is needed to activate my magic potential, or maybe some warlock stole my magic potential and put it inside this orb of power. And so now I'm really weakened as a mage, but I still have my wits and my sticks and my swords and my boards. I don't know what that meant, but so I'm going to go into this dungeon and I'm going to try to get the orb of power. And if we recall, the hook was like a shadow that moves on its own, and so we could say that this is like the suspected big bad here is this shadow that moves on its own, who is maybe trying to materialize. Maybe it's some sort of demon or familiar that is trying to use the orb of power to like break through into real space. And so to figure out what happens, I'm entering the dungeon, and we will say that, let's see, what other sort of, what emotion I can borrow from these other tables. Human experience. I'm going to roll a d20. 16, anxiety. So I'm feeling anxiety, and I apologize. Wilona's Cave, if I'm not playing this right or anything, you want to add any tips or tricks, or you want to yell at me for showing this to the world before it's done, please comment below, as well as anybody else who's interested. Okay, so I have some anxiety about going into this cave, and I need something to kind of like just trigger this like first bit here. Why don't we do something about the dungeon? I'm going to use this dungeon table here for a monster. Okay. So we'll say that I we'll call this adventure eclipsing the shadow. And I think that might be a little bit trite or something, but what I think I'm trying to pull here is like orb makes me think of a moon, like eclipse. This shadow moves on its own. We're trying to find this shadow and eclipse its power, going into this dungeon to get back what is rightfully ours. And to start things out, I enter the dungeon to retrieve I think I'm at 4, sacred orb. From the hands back from, yeah, I think that works. Back from the shadows. Okay. So let me just make sure. Enter the dungeon to retrieve my sacred orb back from the shadows. Good. So we have 575. And now we would just look at this score sheet here to score it. So the first thing we would want to do is like the nouns. And some things could be scored twice if they fall in more categories. But let's just check the nouns. So enter the dungeon. Okay, that's 1. I'll just keep like a 2. Retrieve my, I think that's a modifier. Sacred adjective orb 2. Okay, back from the, that's an article, shadows, plural. All right, so we have 3 nouns, and then prepositions, which are also going to be 1 point each. So enter the dungeon. 2, I believe 2 is a preposition. To retrieve my sacred orb back from. So I think we have 2 preps. Pronouns. Now, I can't be sure, and this is kind of embarrassing, but I'm wondering, is my a pronoun or is that an adjective modifier? No, pronoun would be like he, him. So I don't think I have any pronouns. Conjunctions. Enter the dungeon to retrieve my sacred orb. And I don't... Wait a minute. Back. What is back? Sacred orb back. That's a preposition. All right. So I don't think we have any conjunctions. Do we verbs? Enter, to retrieve. 2. Adjectives. Sacred. Yep. 1. Adverbs. Enter the dungeon. No. Interjections. Let me just see how we're defining. I think interjections are like, wow, which I don't think we have any here. I should have said, ouch, I'm entering the dungeon. I'm seeing where conjunctions and but because. Okay. Oh, ouch, verbs and but. Prepositions in, on, under. So I guess the only ones that I don't get anything for, I wonder if I can count my. I'm going to count my as an adjective, or is that an adverb? No, what am I talking about? That would be like to heartily retrieve my sacred orb. So my I'm going to count as an adjective, and I guess the is an article, and we're not going to score for those. And then I want to see if we have diverse vocabulary. That means we have 5 different parts of speech. So we have nouns, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we don't get that. And then alliteration, we're consecutive. So enter the dungeon to retrieve my sacred orb back. No, there's really no alliteration here. So I think this is going to be a pretty low score to start. But we're going to get 3 for nouns, 3 for prepositions, 2 each for verbs, and for adjectives 2 each. So we actually got 4 plus 4 plus 3 plus 3, which is going to be 14, which does not hit the mark of 20. And so what you would do then is you would then roll on the misfortunes table. All right. And so let's just take a look here. And again, there's an updated version of this, but in the fantasy and adventure misfortune, we say it got an 8. We got caught in a fey trick. Okay. So what I'm going to say is I'm about to enter this dungeon, right? And maybe, here, whatever, here's the entrance of it, a little rock there, some pebbles on the ground. This is the darkness that follows from there. Crags, cracks, walls. Okay. So I'm about to enter into this dungeon, and right here, okay, so we're going to pretend like the entrance comes here and I'm like looking at it from here. Right here, hidden in the dark of the entrance, is actually a hidden hole that is going to drop me down like a slide. So if we pretend that like I'm here, okay, and I'm walking this way towards the entrance to the cave, I am going to slip down here into this little slide that's going to bring me down underground into this thatch where the fays are going to try and, I don't know, steal something. What do fays steal? Snuggles? Okay, so I fall down in this pit from a fey trick, and let's see if we have a table that kind of matches up to what that might look like here. Okay, so we'll say, just roll on dungeon. Again, 20 is a guardian. And maybe while I'm down there, I see all these little fays that are kind of giggling and like maybe trying to like pull little things from me. And I grab one of them and I squeeze them and I say, you better give me my stuff back right now. And I hear a rumbling, and it turns out that these little fae, you know, they aren't stupid. They didn't catch a brawny adventurer with no backup plan. And so from the back of this little area that I fell into, we are going to encounter... Oh, wait, this is kind of interesting. So there's some fairy dust that they blow in my face which disorients me. And I can hear this defender of the phase approaching. And we'll just say, we'll try to put something together from that. So we'll say, ready to begin. Advance toward... Man, toward is a tough... Advance unto my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 my to I advance unto the... That's 5. Advance unto the entrance. Advance unto the entrance. Down I go instead. Okay. I think this is another not so good. Ready to begin. Down I go instead. Spelled wrong. 5. Okay. So I slide down this slide. Advance into the entrance. Down I go instead. Now, I don't know if that captures the fairy dust. Let me just give this another try. I know this might be equivalent to a reroll, but I just want to try it again. So we'll say 5 flitting fast phase. Trying to steal thread and hair. My I am big. No. Let's think here. 5 flitting fast phase, trying to steal thread and hair. Along comes the guard. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, steal. Steal. We'll see. 5, 6, 7. trying to steal. I have to call it steal. So I wonder if I could hit another alliteration to steal some. Maybe they're trying to get human sweat. Some sweat. 5 flitting fast fays trying to steal some sweat. Along comes the guard. I love that. Okay, so let's try this one out. Let's see if I could get enough points this time. All right, so we'll go nouns. 5 flitting fast phase. Okay, 1 trying to steal some sweat. 2 along comes the guard. 3. So 3 for nouns. Prepositions. 5 flitting fast fairies trying to steal some. Some again is a modifier. Along is a preposition. Okay, so that one's 1. Pronouns trying to steal some sweat. Along comes the guard. No. Conjunctions. I don't know if 2. Again, I think I keep making seeing how my brain works here. 2 I think is a preposition. Trying to. No, but that's like if you're like, I'm walking to the door. No, I still think it's a preposition. So we'll go 1 for preposition. Well, I'm sorry, we'll go 2. Along and 2. So that's 2 for that. For pronouns, I think we're at a 0. Conjunctions, I think we're at a 0. Verbs. Trying, steal, comes. So verbs are 2 points each, so that's 3 times 2 is 6. Adjectives are 2, so we got 5. Oh, no, wait. You know what? Flitting is also a verb, so that's 8. So 5, fast, 1, 2, trying to steal some, 3. So that's 3 adjectives, and those are 2 points each. So it's 6. And your total score before bonus is 5 plus 8, 13 plus 6 is 19. And for my bonus, I believe 1, 2, 3. No, I didn't hit that, but I think I got the alliteration twice. And alliteration, 1 bonus point if the haiku includes alliteration, 1 point per word. So 5 flitting fast phase. Steal some sweat. Dang. I think that might be 7, which gives me a 26. Okay. And sorry if you weren't able to see that. I got a little too into it, which just shows the game's good stuff. And so now, just to kind of close it off so you can imagine where it goes from here, we would then re-roll on the fortune table to see what fortune will influence our next haiku. Find a shortcut through a dangerous terrain. So hopefully I will be able to, in that future place, outsmart that guard and find a better path. So again, this is Haiku Journey. This is by the solo gamer Wilona's Cave. I believe they have a link to Google Drive to download whatever version of this. I think it's still in alpha. But either way, please follow, subscribe to Wilona's Cave channel. Some really excellent solo play, really excellent person. And I just want to say, again, on a personal level, thank you for supporting my channel literally from the very beginning. And I really am just very lucky to have a community for people who play games by themselves. It's pretty wild how social and supportive we can be. That's it for me. next time, I promise we'll find out what happens with Cotter. I did play a Dragonbane game like as a player tonight with another GM, which was really fun, and lots of good mechanics that have finally become bolted to my brain. So we will pick up from there. Thank you, everyone. Pick up Haiku Journey, follow Wilona's Cave, and see you all later. Bye.